Hey everyone, welcome to the video. I have just recorded this, but I wanted to put a little foreword or warning at the start of the video just to let you know what I'm going to be doing. And I'm going to be going over literally the very basics of algebra. So, I'm going to explain every component. I'm going to explain what these letters are. I'm going to explain, really just stuff that might seem really simple to some people. But again, if you don't get it, don't worry. You will probably get it eventually. But I just want to say, I'm going to go slow. I'm going to break it down. So if you want a faster paced one, or if you want one, a higher level, I don't know. This may or may not be for you. But I just want to give a warning. So I will go into a lot of detail. So if you have no idea what algebra is, this will probably be a good one. If you're more advanced, you could treat it as a practice lesson. But do know that it will be a bit slower. I've also scrubbed some bits out, so hopefully I haven't scrubbed out part of the question. But hopefully that makes sense. And yeah, let's get into the video. Hey everyone, hope you are doing well. Today I'm going to go over some algebra questions. So they start really easy and then they just get a bit harder as they go through, although not very hard still by the end. I looked into, I guess, basic level algebra questions, and these are the ones that kind of came up. So hopefully, they're not too easy, or I don't think they'll be too hard, but, whether you know any algebra or a little bit, this could still be good practice. And yeah, I'm going to go through, explain, I guess, kind of what algebra is, how to rearrange these questions or equations, and hopefully by the end, you have a bit more knowledge on basic algebra. So I guess sometimes I find lessons a bit like useless in a way. Like I think it makes more sense to just go through them. You can go through them as well if you want. You don't have to. But I think it works just practicing and doing math. So that's what we're going to do. And throughout, I'll tell you anything you need to know. And I think that's really the best way to learn. So I'm going to do that. And yeah, follow along if you want, or you can just listen. Totally up to you. So starting with question number 1, we have x plus 3 is equal to 10. So if you've really never heard of algebra before and you're like, yo, why are we adding like letters in, dude? Like, sorry, I don't know why I made myself laugh. That's lame. Like, why are we adding letters in, right? Like, the numbers were tough enough. Well, these aren't really in context, I guess, of an equation. But I suppose one example would be, let's say you had a formula, yeah? Or in this case, this one is x. So this is an equation, x plus 3 is equal to 10. As you change the value of x, it will, I suppose change the value of the equation, although normally you would have, for example, like y is equal to like 3x or something. As you change the x value, it changes the y value. It's not a constant. Now, just normal numbers, they're called a constant. They don't change. But I don't think we're even really at that level yet. Those are some sort of applications, in case you're wondering, like, why am I doing this? But basically, it's a variable. It can change. But for the purposes of basic algebra, you just need to rearrange and you need to isolate the letter. Now you can have lots of different letters. I guess they're kind of unknowns or variables. I guess it depends the context. In this case, we only have one letter in each problem, but you could have, multiple letters. You could be asked to show y in terms of x, or, y could be 3x, or anything like that. So I don't want to blow your brain or confuse you too much, especially if you've not seen algebra before. But those are some kind of concepts and uses. But it can represent, in this case, they're not really variables because they have a set value once we rearrange, but generally they're kind of be variables, so they will change. But in this case, we're just rearranging to show the value of each letter. Hopefully that makes sense. So with x plus 3, first thing I like to do is, if possible, put everything you can onto one side, i.e. the numbers or anything you don't want, and keep the letters on one side, okay? So in this case, we have x plus 3, because we're trying to isolate the letters. So let's let's just do it here. So x is equal to 10 minus 3. And apologies if you already know this, but I guess I'm thinking if you have no idea about algebra at all, what you can do, the equal sign means that both sides are equal, right? I mean, kind of obvious, but you don't really think about it too much. So that means if you do one thing to one side and you make sure you do it to the other side, that's perfectly fine because there's still an equivalent value. Like on this one, we're going to subtract 3 from both sides. So we subtract 3 from this side, so that will cancel out this 3. And 10 minus 3, we have 7 on the right hand side. So x is equal to 7. And again, I apologize if you know some of this, but some people watching, I guess, might not know any of this. So hopefully that makes sense. You can, if you do something to one side, you can do it to the other. You also have the identical sign, which is like this, but that's slightly different. So anyway, they're equal. So if you do one thing to one side, you times it by 2 or add 7. You can do anything really. I mean, if you wanted, I guess you could theoretically put it through a whole equation, or you could do anything to it. As long as you do it to the other side, I think theoretically then you're still abiding by that. You've got to make sure you abide by the rules of equal. Okay? I've really managed to drag out this first question. So 2y is equal, or 2y minus 5 is equal to 11. So what do? We want to move everything to one side if possible. So I've done, hopefully I'm not in the way, I've done 2y. Actually, I'll keep all my annotation in actually, so it makes, if you really have no idea what's going on, it will make more sense. Is equal to 11, although I think it's more confusing writing it like this. So what have I done? We've got 2y minus 5, and we've added 5 to this side and added 5 to this side. Although, once you get used to it, this will probably be a more confusing way of doing it, but that's effectively what we've done, and you can see that this cancels out with this, so plus 5 minus 5 is 0, just like minus 1 plus 1 is 0. You know, if you have a number or a thing and you subtract it from itself, it becomes 0. I say obviously, but I guess not necessarily obvious. So 2y is equal to 16. Um, 2y is equal to 16. So what did I say before? Abide by the equal sign. Yeah, what was I saying? So if you want to divide, or you can divide by both sides, you can add to both sides, you can do whatever you want. What would like make sense if we want to get by the y by itself here? Well, I would want to divide both sides by 2. So simply you would get y, sorry, I'm trying to stay out of the way of the board. Y would be equal to 8 because you just divide 16 by 2 and you divide 2y by 2. So y is equal to 8. That's a final answer. That is terribly written y, but it is a y. That's a basic concept. If you wanna try the others, feel free. I'm gonna go through them all anyway, obviously. So this is slightly more interesting. So we've got 3 times f plus 2. Now these are 2, I guess you can call them separate terms. So the 3 will multiply by everything in the bracket. And you need to take into account whether that's a plus or minus 2. But so the 3 will times by the f, and it's called expanding. You're expanding the bracket out. Sometimes you might want to do the opposite and put stuff into brackets for the sake of calculations, but right now we are expanding. So 3 times f, how would you write that? Well, this would be 3f plus 6, it's 2 times 3, is equal to 21. 9 plus 10, right? Anyway, that's like a meme. That's probably before your time. So 3f What are we going to do here? Well, let's get rid of that 6 from both sides. Is equal to 15. I'm sorry if I sound like I'm really dumbing it down, but hopefully this will make sure that anyone who watches this will fully understand. And if you don't get it, don't stress about it. It'll click eventually. Or maybe it won't, and you'll never know how to do algebra. No, I'm just kidding. I'm sure you'll be fine. So 3f is equal to 15. Well, what do? Let's divide both sides by 3. Should really go downwards, but whatever, we're going up this way. I'm just making this more confusing to read. F is equal to 5, okay? Nice and simple. This has been more interesting because we've got W's on both sides. And even if you had other letters, just treat them like, don't treat them like constants. Like, they're not necessarily constants, but just treat them in a similar way. You kind of isolate them, move them away. So let's take 2w away from both sides. So that would cancel this. So we'd have 2w on the left, because 4w minus 2w is 2w, is equal to, what would be 5 plus 7 on both sides. So 5 plus 7, because that would, so we're adding, so it cancel this, but bring a plus 7 there. Like, you know, so if you wanted to add to this side, you'd get rid of that negative by adding. I feel like there's something there, but 12, so 2w is equal to 12, so w is equal to 6, because we then divide both sides by 2. Okay? Hopefully this is all in frame as well, because the camera moves for some reason. I'm sure it's fine. So this is a slightly harder one, actually. So let's get everything to one side first. X over 4 is equal to, well, let's subtract 2 from both sides. 6 minus 2, which is equal to 4. X over 4 is equal to 4. That means x is equal to 16, because we're timesing both sides by 4. This is an interesting one as well. The times out, like I said. So 5y minus 15 is equal to 2y plus 12. Sorry, it's hard to stay out the way of the camera. Maybe I should angle it. So take 2y from both sides is equal to 12 plus 15, 27. Is that right? Y is equal to 9. So great. Okay, cool. So hopefully that made sense. Hopefully it was clear. Yeah, I might do a warning at the start just to make sure people understand this is just like literally beginner algebra, because I appreciate everyone's at different levels as well, so you've got to try to meet everyone's criteria. But hopefully that makes sense, and you know, sleep on it. You know, you actually process things when you sleep, so if you don't understand it now, you might understand it in the morning. So yeah, hopefully that made sense. Hopefully it was clear. If you have comments and questions, you can let me know. But I mean, I would say just practice, or if you want me to do another video, maybe a slightly harder one, you can let me know. But yeah, thank you for watching if you made it this far. Best of luck with all your maths, and yeah, that was it.